Welcome back, everybody, to HomeStoryCup, and we're still in Group D. We've got ShaDoWn versus ShoWTimE. This match was voted the best match of HomeStoryCup, so I felt like we could not skip this match. So after this one, I promise you, we will watch the playoffs. But for now, it's time to see if this PvP really does deserve the best match reward. So I expect to see very similar builds to come out of these players, and so far they are pretty similar. Which is always the case with these mirror matchups. It's all about the small twists and turns. The small adaptations or differences that these players create. We see this one probe of ShoWTimE heading out to the top of the map, perhaps for a later proxy building. But it could also just be to get a scout off later and not be caught by some sort of adept. But this is indeed a proxy pylon. And the probe is scouting around. No second pylon in the main, so if ShaDoWn had scouted, which I think he has not, he would know something is up. So we have double adept and a Stargate. The other side of the map we have double stalker and gateway research. No nexus is down just yet, and the probes meet. So what's going on here? ShaDoWn is like, that's a little weird. What is this? Why is there a probe here? And this probey boy is gonna find a random pylon near the main base of ShaDoWn. I like this pylon a lot. It's kind of like if ShoWTimE scouts, he's like, shit, where's that proxy pylon? And it still helps you scout potential oracles or other drops. And we see a proxy nexus by ShaDoWn. I'm loving this already. 2 adepts are out on the map, and 2 stalkers are also out on the map on the other side. This is already about to get real crazy. Probe is ready to throw down that pylon that is ever needed. Shield already being built. Pylon is down. 2 adepts can't do anything against that. The stalkers are here. Hello, here's Johnny. Or it's 2 stalkers at least. Adepts hitting the pylon, but they can't get in. Twilight console on their way. There's 1 sentry in the main and a shield battery. Oracle's now out. Adepts are here in the natural, making sure there's no nexus. Stalkers are killing this pylon. Adepts don't do that much against stalkers. But they can delay until the next warp in comes in, and the Oracle does enter the main. They're both on 1 base, so this can do some damage. Actually, a stasis ward goes down, and he gets 2 probes and some lost mining time. You never know when he might not be watching. Oh, I really hope there's going to be a big recall of workers. Just yoink. Suddenly there's 8 workers down there. That would be so cool. Another oracle's underway. These stalkers were scouting for it, but ShaDoWn didn't manage to find that. Now he has 3 stalkers on the map. And he walled himself in, but it's not a problem. 2 oracles now. He can start one-shotting probes with this force. Blink underway for ShaDoWn, where ShoWTimE has a robo. 1 probe, 2 probe, 3 probe. Nice micro. Oh, and he missed micros for a little bit. Didn't click the probes, and then the oracles derp out a little. Okay, ShoWTimE saw something here. ShoWTimE knows that there is a nexus out on the map. And now he's moving out with all of his units. He has a natural just about starting. Immortal underway. What is ShoWTimE going to do? There's a third Nexus for ShaDoWn as well. Damn. Even though he knows that ShoWTimE knows. ShoWTimE knows, and he knows that there needs to be a lot of Stalkers staying back. He probably used recall already, so his army is divided, but he can now go for a pincer move on the ShoWTimE army. ShoWTimE putting on a lot of pressure here. Adepts move out, and the recall by ShoWTimE, forcing ShaDoWn to make a bunch of units. And now the Oracles come back in. Damn, look at that. 5 probes. Boom, boom, boom. They just died. 10 probes killed. But, oh, even more. Because in the Nat, these Adepts, they shaded in. They're not afraid of a bajillion Stalkers. They just like eating probies. 1 Adept does get out. 2 Immortals for ShoWTimE on the map. On the other side of the map, we don't see a Robo, but we do have Twilight upgrades. So we have Blink, and now we also are getting Charge. And ShoWTimE is once again moving out, not really using this Stargate anymore. Not that he needs to, he just has these 2 Oracles that can run in every time that he thinks that there's no Stalkers in the main. Really awkward position for ShaDoWn. Trying to protect his hidden base on the map. 2 sentries could put down some annoying force fields or aid with a very good Guardian Shield. 2 force fields are plonked down, but ShaDoWn just blinks over it and now starts targeting this Immortal. 1 Immortal down. And he actually sent in a hallucination from his main base, or I don't know where the sentry is, but it kept giving him vision. That was very nice, otherwise it's very awkward to fight up this ramp. ShaDoWn hanging on. And now he has 3 bases. If he can saturate that 3rd base, ShoWTimE is in an awkward position. ShoWTimE does not have a 3rd base, but he does have a Twilight console building, so he's progressing further in tech. Whereas ShaDoWn, just gateway units. Now keeping these Stalkers at home again, because he is afraid of these Oracles. Big ShoWTimE army in front of his natural, but it's hard for him to know. He doesn't have observers, he doesn't have hallucinations. He doesn't have cheap Zerglings or Marines to send around. It might have been okay to send like a probe out. Now ShoWTimE walks into his natural, but his army is at his hidden base. So if ShoWTimE wants, he can actually target this down and maybe get out. But no, oh my god, that's a big ShaDoWn army dunking on his head, blonking on his face. A lot of charged zealots and stalkers surrounding him like his Warcraft 3. ShoWTimE could not move anywhere, he just had to stand his ground and fight. And ShoWTimE calls GG. ShoWTimE was in kind of a do-or-die scenario there because he only had 2 bases, and he did have better tech with the Robotech, but he elected to not go for a 3rd base. He instead thought that he could go for the throat, and I'm not sure if that was planned because he did get a Twilight console to maybe transition out, but I feel like he thought that he needed to get some damage done to keep this game going. And for game 2, we are here on Royal Blood. First game, we saw a spicy match. We saw a proxy Stargate from ShoWTimE, but we saw a proxy base from ShaDoWn, and apparently proxy base is better than just a proxy tech building. You learn something every day. So now ShoWTimE needs to bounce back from the first game. Let's see what types of adaptations he makes. Will he go for another proxy? Or does he go for an early scout and just play solid? It does look to be an early probe scout. ShaDoWn not budging. It's like, I don't need to know what you're doing as long as I know what I'm doing. And sometimes I don't even know what I'm doing, because then you can't scout what I'm doing. Second gateway for ShaDoWn goes down. 2 gases, and the second gate for ShoWTimE is also put down. So pretty similar builds, as if not completely identical builds for both sides. Let's see where they put down their second pylons. Cybercore for both sides. We're looking for those pylons. We see a Mecha pylon for ShaDoWn, hiding it kind of in the natural, but still in a defensible position. And ShoWTimE just puts his in the main. He knows that ShaDoWn hasn't scouted him, so doesn't have to be tricky about it. And now ShoWTimE has to be on the lookout for that pylon. And as you can see, he is kind of looking for it, trying to get some information. He sees one unit's making, but not a second one. We see a probe waiting to do, I hope, another proxy base. And another probe looking to find it out. And actually, this probe got spotted by the other probe. My god, I'm so sad that he did not get his proxy gold base. That would have been cool. But instead, he just has a boring old natural base. Let's see. ShoWTimE hasn't seen any of that, so he's still scouting around. 2 probes across the map. He's paranoid as hell. We see 2 stalkers moving out, 2 more stalkers, and no natural for ShoWTimE just yet. Standing on top of this ramp, hoping that some unit was moving across the map for ShaDoWn, and maybe ShoWTimE could get the first shots off and then punish, because once you're near a stalker, he won't let you go if you're another Protoss unit. Shield battery underway already. ShaDoWn's being pretty defensive. Sends out an Oracle. I like that. Even though a Phoenix is a little faster, Oracle can freak him out. Especially if he sees it, like, for a little bit. No panic shield battery, though. Nice pressure being put on by ShoWTimE here. First, ooh, he gets a pylon kill. That's pretty nice. 3 stalkers against 4, but that shield battery is gone. And now he's just shooting the Nexus. ShaDoWn did get a scout off. Now has more stalkers than ShoWTimE, and it's time to boot him out of there. Yo, I got more stalkers. Get out of here. Now we see Blink for ShoWTimE. And also a Twilight for ShaDoWn underway. Nexus almost done for ShoWTimE. Workers are pretty darn even. Slight edge for ShaDoWn. He also had Chrono Boost a little longer. Double Chrono Boost, that is. We see Blink for both sides. So, they got here in different ways. Oh my god, is he really gonna... ShaDoWn, you... I'm starting to love this player, man. This French Protoss. What a guy. Yes! Yes! He's like, okay, you already scouted that I tried to take this, so I'm gonna take it anyways. And ShoWTimE somehow scouts for it. Are you kidding me? He finds it right away. ShoWTimE must be just, like, so annoyed with ShaDoWn right now. ShoDoWn. Because he already took a proxy base last game, and he actually beat him with it. ShoWTimE just takes a third right away. He's like, okay, you're investing in proxy bases. I'll just shut that down and invest in my own third base. What are you gonna do? I expect ShaDoWn to cancel this any moment now. Blink is about to finish for ShoWTimE. Actually, not a cancel. It got killed. Adepts were in the natural, and 6 probes got killed? Oof. ShaDoWn just did a lot of damage to ShoWTimE. And even though he started the third base, he must be feeling the heat. Because ShoWTimE also has a third base, and it's slightly further ahead. He has slightly more probes, and he has slightly more tech. So, if this game goes on, ShoWTimE should have an advantage. But ShaDoWn doesn't, of course, know all of these things. But he is here to pressure a little bit. Oh my god, he's going to do a cheeky blink into the main. And ShoWTimE was not in position. He did not know there was blink. He had not showed it himself, but also ShaDoWn had not showed it to him. So now he blinks onto the blink stalkers, who will attempt to blink out again. And not a lot was done here. He didn't even get a pylon, I think. Just a couple probes. Good reactions by ShoWTimE. But also nice pressure by ShaDoWn, trying to get something done here. Nice mainarding of the workers as soon as that Nexus finishes. It's already halfway saturated. Now that's efficiency. We see a forge underway for both sides. +1 has already started for ShoWTimE. ShaDoWn did scout that, so he kind of had a decision there. He's like, okay, I see a forge, so you're going to go upgrade. I can now go for an attack myself, or also start my upgrades myself to make sure that I'm not behind in upgrades. And now we see charge slots for both sides, but we do have observers and Robotech for ShoWTimE, which ShaDoWn again is delaying to get, or even neglecting to get. He's going to get a 4th Nexus. This guy likes his Nexi. He just plonks him down. I love that. Nice pylon here to make sure that he can see any sneaky drop getting into his main. And ShoWTimE does scout the fast 4th base. Now moves out with his stalkers. Gets 1 probe, gets 2 probes, and then just blinks out. Does lose 1 stalker for that move. ShoWTimE is slightly ahead in workers. Also has a 4th base now underway. We just see stalkers and +1 for ShaDoWn. I kind of feel like this gateway explosion, he just wants to make stalkers and A-move him. And charge zealots. He actually only has 2 gases. As you can see, only 2 gases in the main. ShoWTimE did scout that with an hallucination, so he might know that this big gateway explosion is coming. Blonks onto the stalkers. Sentry gets behind when the other stalkers retreat. He could have, of course, not stay there and fight because he has less stalkers and didn't have enough energy for Guardian Shield. And even then, ShoWTimE would probably just focus that down. He is forcing, however, ShoWTimE to stay at home. Although they are really similar in army supply and worker supply. So this vision by ShoWTimE is really necking ShaDoWn here. That's a lot of charged zealots trying to get something done at this 4th base, but the second force of ShoWTimE says no. Another observer scouting the map. Real nice advantage that the ShoWTimE has for himself here with these 2 observers making sure that he knows what ShaDoWn is doing. And ShaDoWn is trying to be all tricky and fancy, but it's not that tricky and fancy if the ShoWTimE just sees it coming and has more stalkers than you. Ooh, these stalkers almost get caught, but the 5th base for ShaDoWn is in peril. A lot of charged zealots come in. Stalkers did get caught by a couple zealots. That's a lot of charged zealots trying to kill a lot of blink stalkers. But ShaDoWn's army is a lot smaller than ShoWTimE's. Nice blink micro by ShaDoWn trying to use these zealots as a meat shield for his own stalker force, but it is dwindling fast, and I don't know if he can defend this 5th base. He has to actually give it up, I feel like, and he just GG's out. He was warping in some DTs and tried to hold, but he probably saw the shimmer of the observer and he was like, oh, okay, I'm actually just completely boned, huh? And just like that, ShoWTimE evens it up. And we are here for our 3rd game in this best of 3, ShaDoWn versus ShoWTimE, and ShoWTimE elects to start with a low ground wall, whereas ShaDoWn is going for a high ground wall. This ShaDoWn guy has been putting down Nexi where they belong and where they do not belong, and I'm loving it personally. We see a probe scout from both sides this game. Which I guess is a good idea when there's such a narrow ramp at the natural. So you can actually do these low ground walls pretty reliably, but I feel like you do kind of want to know about it if your opponent is doing that. can't let them get away with that for free, you know. We see a gateway finishing up, and then a cybercore. So this is a 1-gate opener, it seems like. Whereas ShaDoWn is doing 2 gateways. So instead of the first 2 games where we had decently similar openers, now we actually have some deviation by ShoWTimE. And he seems to be gunning for maybe an earlier Nexus, or at least a delayed second gate. Which wouldn't make sense if you're delaying it for nothing, obviously. So I do expect... Oh, he actually goes for a very fast Stargate. That also works, I guess. You delay the second gate for a Stargate. Would like to get his Nexus down here. On the other side, ShoWTimE is attacking that pylon. You never know. Double Stalker underway, so we're gonna see ShaDoWn move across the map with those. I would assume pylon block by ShoWTimE, whereas ShaDoWn is also pylon blocking him. Can't stick around to wait for that pylon to finish and then build a cyber core. So we do have a Nexus and a shield battery underway for ShoWTimE. I feel like he hasn't used this Stargate just yet. So he did finish it up, but hasn't used it quite yet. But we do see an Oracle now being chrono boosted out. 2 Stalkers maneuvering around the map. There's 1 Adept trying to get some scouting information. Does see that the Natural has started. And there's also a Stargate for ShaDoWn in his main base. So this is the first game that he's elected to not go Twilight right away. Let's see where this goes. I feel like he could have seen this Stargate and just maybe made a blind Phoenix and go into a Phoenix war that he is sure to win. But maybe it doesn't work like that anymore now that the shield battery exists. We see Twilight Console for ShoWTimE. We see this Oracle coming in. And also 2 Stalkers warded away. Phoenix underway. We see a second Oracle underway for ShoWTimE. And 1 Oracle going to be flying into the main of ShoWTimE. Shield battery just started, so he's gonna get some probe kills here. 4 probes, that's pretty good. 5 probes. And even the 6th one, he knew that... Oh! 8 probes! That's huge. He knew that ShoWTimE would be low on Stalkers. So he took full advantage of that. Very nicely done by ShaDoWn. He takes a pretty big worker lead here. And ShoWTimE had to actually... Oh! Oracle moves in again. Another 2 probes. Oh, but the Oracle does go down. But that's a lot of lost units, though. That is 10 probes lost already. And ShoWTimE throws down the DT Shrine. This kind of looks like a desperation move. He knows that he's behind in workers, but he also knows that ShaDoWn lost his only detection in the Oracle. And now ShoWTimE is going to try and do some counter damage. If he can get some worker kills, he can get himself back into this game. But the Stalkers are in position to stop ShoWTimE from munching on his probes too much. He only gets a little snack, but no buffet here. Third base underway for ShaDoWn. ShoWTimE doesn't know it quite yet. Pylon in the middle of the map for both players, just to get some vision, maybe a slow warp in. This would be nice for those DTs that are about to spawn. We don't see a DT Shrine for ShaDoWn. We see 1 gateway, 2 gateway, so he can warp in 2 DTs around the time that this DT Shrine finishes up. Nicely timed that we see a gateway over here. So ShaDoWn wants to mount an attack from this position. We see 2 DTs being warped in over here across the rocks, actually. ShoWTimE has 2 pylons out on the map. And now he flies in with his oracles and walks into a bunch of stalkers. Now, these DTs are going to go uncontested. I don't think there's even detection. No, he starts a robo now. He saw the shimmer maybe. And if not that, he'll see the dead bodies of his probes everywhere. Let's see what he does. He pulls back his army to deal with units he can't hit anyways. ShaDoWn is hitting the pylon to make sure that the oracle can't be completed. Nuclear battery heals up that pylon good, because nuclear batteries are just too good. The oracle spawns, and now the detection is here. That DT does get shut down. The other DT is still in the natural. Third is unscathed. And we're waiting for this oracle to get his energy. He has enough energy, and the DT has been tagged. Blink has been revealed. And now the DTs do die. But ShoWTimE knows exactly what he's up against. And he caught up pretty well in the worker count. Another DT walks in because he knows it's only an oracle. There's still no robo. So this DT will pay for himself and then some. Oh, damn. How cheap is that? Reveal spell. Holy moly. DT got off one swipe. Another DT gets off one swipe and then has to run away. Ooh, and ShoWTimE actually found the pylon plus gateway for ShaDoWn. And now finishes up his own third base. The worker counts are pretty equal, but ShaDoWn's army is so big. ShoWTimE needs to keep him back in his own base, dealing with these annoying backstabs of DTs, oracles, etc. More probes died probably because of that one oracle, and now the DT was spotted. And ShoWTimE is trying to maneuver around here with a small stalker force compared to ShaDoWn's huge stalker force. Now there's +1 and a robo underway for ShoWTimE. I think if he can hold on long enough, make up that army deficit, and even get a lead in upgrades, he'll do fine. He even takes a 4th base. He feels like he can defend that. Oh, nope, he instantaneously cancels it. He's like, oh, ShaDoWn's coming in. I can't defend that. Good game sense by ShoWTimE, and ShaDoWn is knocking on the door. We're gonna see, he needs to trigger this stasis trap. He needs to use his blink micro very well. And they need to target each other's stalkers. 4th base for ShoWTimE goes down on the other side. ShaDoWn also taking a 4th base. So there was a bunch of posturing here, but there ended up not being a decisive fight. He's afraid of the nuclear battery. Who wouldn't be? We see 5 gases for ShaDoWn this game. Very different than in the last game where he elected only to get 2 gases and a bunch of... Or the first game, actually. Where he only elected to get 2 gases for stalkers and a ton of charge slots. ShoWTimE is actually quite heavy on the minerals here, trying to get out those probes, and ShaDoWn took a small probe lead on top of his small army lead again. +1 is about to finish, and we see Blink DT. Now that's a funny upgrade to see. We see charge zealot legs for ShoWTimE here, and he is actually going to be adding in the zealots into his army, whereas ShaDoWn has pure stalker with an immortal underway. He's also starting armor, so he has a 2nd forge. Now ShoWTimE moves in. His army supply is still significantly lower, but that's hard to see when you don't have a full count of the units for either side. ShaDoWn does spot these stalkers moving to a potential 5th base. ShoWTimE is just making sure that he doesn't take like a really greedy 6th base that then goes unpunished. Or a 5th base. I mean... Both players have +1. ShoWTimE is about to finish up his charge legs. Or Zealot's charge. We see a 5th base for him coming down, so he takes that advantage. +2 is being chronoed out, but We see 1 and 2 forges for ShaDoWn being chrono boosted. So the longer this game goes, the better it is for ShaDoWn, I feel like. He's ahead in workers, ahead in army, and his upgrades will be better. But those are all just slight advantages. If ShoWTimE manages to take a good fight with, for example, disruptors, force fields, or just good targeting with immortals or other high damage units, he can do a lot of work. These 2 DTs were trying to sneak around and cancel this 5th base, but they get tagged and almost taken down. Not sure what's in their future. They might become Archons. They might stay DTs. They do have Blink. We also see DT Blink for ShaDoWn. That's DT Blink for both players now. This is getting to be a crazy game. We're moving out of the mid-game into a more late-game stage of the game where both players are maxed. They're starting to get all of their tech paths. And they're defending 5 bases. Cannons are going down. Nice stasis ward here. ShaDoWn is defending his 5th whilst also attacking the 5th base of ShoWTimE. Really interesting dance with both players need detection against the other guy's invisible units. ShaDoWn has an Oracle and cannons, whilst ShoWTimE has an Observer. Now reinforces his harassment force to overwhelm the defensive force of ShaDoWn. But the big warp-in does ward ShoWTimE away. He just has less units. On the other side of the map, ShaDoWn tried to pounce on ShoWTimE's gateway-only force with this 1 immortal. Don't be fooled. 1 immortal targeting stalkers can do a lot of damage. We see a Warp Prism here. Checking out the potential 6th base and trying to get some warp-ins done in his opponent's base. 1 stalk, or whoa. 1 zealot bites the dust. Just get one-shot by a bunch of stalkers there. Harassment force runs away. 4 DTs run into the natural ramp and just chill for a little bit. 6 bases being looked at by ShaDoWn. Warp Prism is in the main and is warping in a lot of units. He's attacking the 4th base, and ShaDoWn is canceling the 6th of ShoWTimE, whilst also his army is not really doing anything. Now moving into the 5th base to try and cancel. It's starting to be a full-out on base race, and both of them have Blink DTs. What can you do? ShaDoWn trying to hold on to his main base, giving up his 4th base, but in the meantime also canceling 3 of ShoWTimE's bases. It's still looking like a base race right now. ShoWTimE actually supply blocks where ShaDoWn can still produce a bunch of units. ShaDoWn now in the 5th base of ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE trying to rebuild with a bunch of cannons and probes. The other base of ShaDoWn goes down, so both players only have a natural, with ShoWTimE having 1 extra base building. Nice stasis trap hit, but it's not going to do anything. 60 probes died for ShaDoWn. All he has is his army, whilst ShoWTimE still has hopes of getting more units this game. ShaDoWn is just going for the full base race. He's like, this is it, and I need to win with these. He found the Nexus. DTs go in, but there is detection somehow. This Observer, worth his weight in gold. DTs do get away, but he has spotted this Nexus, and somehow ShaDoWn defends his main, whilst ShoWTimE also retains his main. That is crazy. All his production is here. There should be like a DT here, but ShaDoWn, of course, does not know. He's making all of his DTs into Archons, or morphing them. All the probes are about to get caught by ShaDoWn. Very nice. Another Nexus gets cancelled by ShoWTimE. It's ShoWTimE this game that is just throwing down Nexuses left and right. And now they both only have a main base. No mining whatsoever. ShaDoWn is broke as a joke. 8 probes, while ShoWTimE is just expanding across the map. It's like, you can't whack-a-mole all of my Nexi. And now there is a recall for ShaDoWn. He's going to fight for his main, but half his army is still out on the map whilst he's fighting ShoWTimE's whole army. This can't be good. There's one that Immortal, though. Remember the Immortal. Oh, the War Prism gets sniped. He's now surrounded by this army of ShaDoWn. He blinks in, and ShoWTimE is actually cornered. But ShoWTimE's army is, or ShaDoWn's army is kind of derping around. But he's thinning out ShoWTimE's army. All the Stalkers are dying. This is a crazy fight. ShoWTimE, get out of there. Your advantage is not your army, apparently. It is your economy. And he now needs to run away from ShaDoWn. And ShaDoWn, what are you gonna do? ShaDoWn has a big army and he's on the chase. He can't afford another Nexus, but he does have a little bit of mining in the main. So maybe he will get another Nexus in this game. But ShoWTimE has another base. He is mining it as well, so he is actually making more units. And every second that goes by, he makes more and more units, and the army supply gets closer and closer. ShaDoWn, I don't know if he has any detection. We see one observer here. It's all about the detection here. The DTs are uncontested. Where are the observers for ShaDoWn? Both players are not making any units. And ShaDoWn is on the retreat because he does not have detection. He's making one observer at home. He does, however, have an overwhelming Stalker force. And ShoWTimE, of course, does not know, is there an observer somewhere on the way? I don't want to lose these DTs for free. This DT is getting a couple swipes in, but no kills just yet. ShaDoWn, as soon as this observer is here, his army is still slightly bigger. He has better upgrades. ShoWTimE needs to delay or snipe the observer. It's either or. He can now finally see the DT. ShaDoWn does. His army is dwindling, though. He kills all of the DTs. And now he's fighting with his overwhelming big Stalker force. He needs these observer alive, though. Oh, and the observer goes in. Oh, loses a bunch of Stalkers. And the two observers now for ShaDoWn. Batteries are trying to heal back these Stalkers. And it looks like ShaDoWn is barely not doing it. ShoWTimE is holding on. He had a nuclear battery, so ShaDoWn has to back off there. Fighting into a nuclear battery is a big no-no. He tries to hold on here. ShaDoWn needs to win this fight. He is investing in more units. He has not made another Nexus. He's not investing in his economy. And ShoWTimE pulls the probes and it kills ShaDoWn's army. My God, that was so close. ShoWTimE held on by the skin of his teeth, and he was, well, I wouldn't say lucky, but he probably sniped ShaDoWn's last observer, which made ShaDoWn have to renew his observer count and actually fly it over from across the map, from his main base, all the way towards this 5th base location. And it bought enough time for ShoWTimE to just barely hold on. He had good Blink Stalker micro. He used his DTs really well, and he got a lot of value out of them. And he barely edged out ShaDoWn, who just didn't have the economy to back up a longer game anymore. And that's how ShoWTimE beats ShaDoWn 2-1. In our HomeStoryCup Group D. Guys, I'll see you in a couple days, and we'll start with the playoffs of HomeStoryCup 23. I believe the first match is Skilus versus, I think it's ShoWTimE, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's a PvP. It's a surprise. I'll see you guys then. Cheers.